Let me begin with my salutations to Ramachandra. Om Ramaya Ramachandraya Ramabhadraya Vedhase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitayaha Pataye Namaha. I offer my salutation to Rama, who is gentle and cool like moon, who is husband of Sita, and who is protector of all. Today, as you all know, today is a very auspicious day, Ramanavami, birthday of Sri Rama. Just after this talk, we shall have our Ramanavami celebration here, and I'll be doing the puja. I am excited for that. I love to do puja. So, two excitements this morning. One is this sharing my views or the ideas about Rama, what he learned from his guru, Vasishtha. And second excitement is just after that, running to the, rushing to the temple and doing the puja for Rama, Sri Rama. So first of all, I thank Mataji, Brahmaparnaji, not only for inviting me, but also giving me the opportunity to read one of the books which was on my wish list for a long time. That is Yoga Vasishtha, Vasishtha Yoga. For a long time, I had this idea or wish I should read the book because we hear so much about the book, the importance of the book. I also 2 years ago I got 4 thick volumes of the book from India. One devotee was kind enough to bring all the heavy books from India, but they were lying on my shelves because I was afraid to venture. I started, then I thought, oh my God, when I should, when I will be able to finish that. So when Brahma Parnaji a few months ago asked me whether I would like to give a talk on this Ramanavami day, I thought, yeah, this is the opportunity. Let me grab it and go through the book. At least let me start reading the book. So thank you, Mataji, for giving me the opportunity. So Yoga Vasishta is a wonderful book. It's a syncretic book and one of the most celebrated books of non-dual Vedanta. Non-dual Vedanta. So they say Upanishads and then Yoga Vasishta, because Yoga Vasishta is a Prakriya Grantha. Prakriya Grantha means it only shares the realizations, experiences of the sages. They don't go into argument. The books which present the non-dual Vedanta in through the forms of arguments and logics, they are called Prakarana Grantha, like Viveka Chudamani or Vedanta Sara, Panchadashi. But this is a Prakriya Grantha. That is, this is just for contemplating, contemplating. So they say that this book, those who are seekers of highest reality, for them, this book is for contemplation. Those who have settled all their queries now only need to dwell upon the truth. This is the book, Vasishta Yoga. It's a syncretic book because it discusses not only non-dual Vedanta, but also yoga, bhakti, Sankhya, all in very detail. So what we shall do today? I shall give a broad overview of the book and discuss two important ideas which have got direct implication in our life. Okay. One thing is very interesting about the book Yoga Vasishta, that it has got so much of similarities with Bhagavad Gita in the way that in the difference is here that in Bhagavad Gita we see Arjuna was in trouble. Arjuna was in dilemma, what to do, whether to fight this war or not. And we see that Sri Krishna, one divine incarnation, comes into his help. Here, divine incarnation, Sri Rama is the divine incarnation. He himself is in trouble. He himself is in crisis. And his guru, Vasishtha, takes him out of the crisis and shows him the way. The difference is here that at one place, the divine incarnation comes to the help. Here, the divine incarnation himself is in trouble. So this is the difference. The similarities are same. One, Rama has a crisis and surrenders to his guru Vasishtha, and Vasishtha then spends a good deal of time in giving Rama the view of the world, philosophical view, metaphysical view, what is our true nature and how to realize this true nature. And as we see that in Bhagavad Gita, at the end, Sri Krishna says, my doubts are now resolved, and now I know what to do. In the same way, Sri Rama, at the end of Vasishtha Yoga Vasishtha says, now I know, my doubts are cleared, and now I will do what I am supposed to do. So, how the story begins? Story begins like this way. At the age of 15, at the age of 15, Sri Rama, the jewel of the dynasty, son of Dasharatha, he goes out for pilgrimage at the age of 15, and he places different holy places of India and come back to his palace. But after coming back, there is a notable difference people see in Rama's behaviors. He is not taking interest in anything. He is not eating at all, eating very rarely. He is not sleeping well. He is not taking delight in all the pleasures that is available in the palace. So his father, Dasharatha, gets worried and asks now and then, Rama, what is the matter? And Rama says, oh, there's nothing, don't worry about it. But Dasharatha knows there is some problem with Rama. And he also inquires Rama's attendants. He's a prince and he's supposed to have many attendants. He inquires about Rama. And all the attendants say they are worried about Rama's condition. In the meantime, what happens? Another sage, Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra comes to Dasharatha's court and says, and Vishwamitra is a very revered, respected sage for his wisdom. And Dasharatha says, welcomes him and says, what can I do for you? It's a great fortune that you have come to my kingdom. Let me know, what can I do for you? And whatever you will ask for, I will definitely do. Then Vishwamitra says, I am going to do a fire sacrifice in my ashrama, and I need Sri Rama to help me. Sri Rama to help me in this way, that there are some people who don't want me, who will not let me to do this fire sacrifice. And I need Rama to protect me when I am engaged with the fire sacrifice. Then Dasharatha becomes worried. He says Rama is only 15-year-old. Not only that, Rama is not in right condition of mind right now, as I see it. And in the court, there was also another sage, Vasishtha, who is the protagonist of Yoga Vasishtha. So he says, okay, call for Rama. Let us talk to him. What is going on with him? So the attendant brings Rama, and Vasishtha asks, what is the problem? Then Rama starts speaking out to Vasishtha that Rama says that after the pilgrimage, when I looked around and different places, and what I am find is this unsatisfactory or nature of the world, dissatisfaction, that wealth cannot give us permanent happiness. Then desire I am seeing is the enemy of peace. Then different life stages, infancy. Infancy is a stage where the child is helpless. Youth. Youth is when people are mostly become wild, wild with desires, and they don't know what to do. And old age is helplessness, fraught with disease. Then time, which is such a enigmatic thing, which is chasing us. We are chasing time too. And all those things make me think that what is the meaning of all? What is the meaning of life? Is there anything called satisfaction in this world, permanent satisfaction? If there is not, what is the meaning of life at all? And what is the meaning of ruling a kingdom? So my mind, until I get answers to this, how? Tell me, Vasishta, he says, tell me or say, sir, Vasishta, how people can find satisfaction in this world. And until I get the answer and the means to get satisfaction or answers to my questions, the meaning and purpose of life, then I don't think I can rule the kingdom. Everything seems meaningless to me. And when we read this section, many, many of the observations of Sri Rama resonate so much with us. I was thinking that, of course, we know that uh, wealth cannot give us happiness. Then fulfillment of desire is never possible, all the fulfillment of desire. But I especially was thinking about when Rama was saying what he was thinking about different stages of life. Infancy, in babies, we know that babies are, of course, babies have the trouble that they are helpless. But on the other hand, babies also have the problem of temper tantrum, temper tantrum that keep their parents go crazy. And adolescence, although Rama skips this period, but adolescence is such a period when we find we are in an identity crisis, when we don't know what we are, and that's why we start behaving so crazily. So I, I know a few days ago, one gentleman was telling me, Swami, you won't understand the trouble of having adolescent kids. They are totally out of control, and you can't do anything about it. Everything is available to them outside, and it is a headache. Every day you are in tension what they are going through. Then youth is a time, indeed, time uh, which can be wonderful too, but at the same time, youth is a time when we may fall into this attraction of this wild way of living. And old age, we are seeing what is happening, But it is not pessimistic. One may think why Rama is becoming so pessimistic about everything. Is there only downside of in everything in the world in different stages of life? So the point is, uh, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, we find the answer. Patanjali says, Sarvam Dukkham Vivekinam. That is, those who have the power of discernment, that is, those who have a sensitive mind, they find unsatisfactoriness in the world. Otherwise, those who are not, they are apparently happy with things. Their ignorance is bliss, so they are kind of living a life. But those who try to find meaning of life, purpose in life, they often find that many things in this world are not satisfactory, does not give us permanent satisfaction. So Vyasa, in his commentary to this aphorism of Patanjali, says that cobweb, cobweb is a fine thing, and cobweb, if we run our hand through cobweb, we don't get hurt. Okay, but the same cobweb can be very painful for eyeball, which is very soft. In the same way, the Viveki, those who are sensitive, those who are seekers, those who want to go deeper into the meaning of life, want to see through things, they find that everything which is apparently so pleasant also have a downside. And that is what we find these dawns upon in the mind of Rama at the age of 15. At the age of 15. So Viveki. So Vasishta comes to his help. So uh, Vasishta comes to his help, and Vasishta at the very beginning says, so Rama surrenders to Vasishta. So tell me, what is the way? My state of mind is not good at all. In fact, in today's parlance, we may say Rama was in depression. Rama was in depression. We see in the books, old books, so they translate this Rama's despondency. But very well, it is totally depressed state of mind because he is not taking pleasure in anything. Nothing is, they call when someone is in depressive state of mind as if there is a fog, as if a fog that covers the mind. And person does not want to lift the fog. So Rama's state of mind was like that. So Rama says uh, to Vasishta, I surrender to you, sir. Please help me and tell me what is the way. So Vasishta at the very beginning, like a good guru, he says, praise Sri Rama, says that it's good that you have pondered over these things. You have pondered over these things. Let me guide you. Then he starts this lengthy discourse called Yoga Vasishta. It is of 32,000 verses. 32,000 verses. That is, it is larger than even Ramayana. Ramayana was of 24,000 verses. But Yoga Vasishta is of 32,000 verses. The discourse goes on for 21 days. 21 days. And not only Rama, uh, many sages and many scholars attend this discourse that goes on for 21 days. And it has got 53 mega stories, 53 mega stories, and then we have stories within stories, stories again within stories. So altogether, it makes for a very interesting reading. And at the very beginning, I see that Vasishta says about this Valmiki, who records the conversation, that this text contains 53, or he does not mention the number 53. He says contains many stories to illustrate the points, illustrate the philosophy that Vasishta is trying to impart to Rama. And he says, don't take these stories literally. Okay, their point is only to illustrate or drive home some point. And that's why we see so many interesting stories. So entire book is divided into 6 books. Okay, I am giving you a very brief overview into 6 sections, each of which is called a book. First is called the book on dispassion, Vairagya Prakarana, where Rama speaks his heart out. It is a Rama's dispassion about the world. Second is Mumuksha Vyavahara Prakarana on how a person who is seeking liberation or moksha, how do they behave, and how the desire for liberation dawns in one's mind, and who are those people who want to find answers to these $1 million questions. What is the meaning of life? How we get permanent satisfaction in the world? And also, Vasishta at the very beginning in the second chapter stresses the need for self effort, that self effort is everything. If you want to get the answer to the questions, these great questions, and want to go beyond suffering, then you have to exert yourself, self effort. And then he speaks about four practices, four important spiritual practices. We shall see that later on in detail. What are those spiritual practices? Then the third chapter is called On Creation, Utpatti Prakarana, on creation. So Vasishta presents before Rama what is the root of the problem. So root of the problem to Rama appeared this world itself. Then Vasishta wants to answer, where did this world originate from? What is the origin of this world? So he says that this world has two components, like the world as we see it, it originates from the ultimate reality. But more importantly, we create our own world. That is, the world exists in our mind. World exists in our mind. And then in Sthiti Prakarana, he again stresses the point that how we create our own mind. And he goes on to lay out the theory of Drishti Srishti Vada, which is very unique to Yoga Vasishta. Only another non-dual Vedanta book, Mandukya Karika, Mandukya Upanishad speaks about this Drishti Srishti Vada. We shall see that later on. That is, creation is in mind. Then Upashama, how this dissolution of the world, how this problematic nature of the world can be solved, dissolved only in mind. When we make our mind the perfect instrument, then how this problematic world will no more be a problematic world to us. And in this section also, Vasishta speaks in great length about yoga, Ashtanga yoga, pranayama, etc. Then final section is on liberation, Nirvana Prakarana, which is the lengthiest, containing 14,500 verses. Here, he goes on to say the state of liberation, how a person who is free, how they live in the world. And also, he continues some of the previous discussion on yoga and pranayama. So, six books. First book or first chapter, we may say, is about Rama's dispersion. Second chapter is Vasishta's uh, uh, Vasishta's praise of Rama, and also Vasishta says what are the characteristics of those people who wants to go beyond this suffering. What are the most four important spiritual practices? Then in the next three, Utpatti, Sthiti, and Upashama Prakarana, in these three, that is creation, its existence, and its dissolution, how all of these are mostly related to our mind and how we can solve the problematic nature of the mind. And finally, Nirvana Prakarana, that is how a liberated person live in this world. So that is the overview. Now, as I said, uh, two things. two important things as I felt we should know about this book and which are quite unique. One is the ontology. Okay, the ontology of Yoga Vasishta, the main metaphysics of Yoga Vasishta, which is which we don't find any at any other places. That is Drishti Sishti Vada. So Vedanta, according to non-dual Vedanta, this creation we have to explain. So the the common view is Srishti Drishti Vada. That is, Srishti means creation, Drishti means we are seeing it. So there is, in this empirical level, there is a creation and we are seeing it. Therefore, we are seeing it. It is true in this empirical level. In ultimate from standpoint, there is only one ultimate reality, which is appearing as many. This we all know. Here, Vasishta says that Drishti Sishtivada, that is, we are creating our own world. That is, Rama's problem was the Rama was seeing the problems outside, everywhere, in the world, in the old age, in the youth, in the problem of wealth, problem of desire, problem of time, all was outside him. So Vasishta wants to say that the world that you are finding problematic is actually your own creation of your own mind. And I find it is so interesting that how much truth is in this statement, that world is our own creation. If we think about time, three dimension of time, past, present, and future, we see that in all these three dimensions of time, we are creating our own world. That is, there is a world, of course, outside there, but each of us creating our own world in present, in past, in the future. What about past? Some of you might know about Daniel Kahneman. He is a behavioral economist in Princeton University. He wrote one wonderful book called Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow. Okay. And probably he got a Nobel Prize also for economics. So he is a behavioral economist, and he always speaks about how irrational human beings are, through his studies. So he, in this book, Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow, he shows us that human beings, all of us, as it were, have two selves. One is the experiencing self, and one is the remembering self. Experiencing self go on experiencing from moment to moment, but the remembering self does not remember things from moment to moment. He gives an example. Suppose you go to a vacation, okay? Everything is going fine, but at the end, something happens which totally, kills the mood of the vacation, okay? Kills the mood of the vacation. And later on, when you look back and think about the vacation, you will think the only thing that will remember in your mind is that bad experience. Bad experience. But all those good moments will be erased from your mind because the remembering self is good at remembering the highlights of our experience. And compared to that, if you and if you go to a vacation which was so not so great, but towards the end, at the end happens something great, only for a few minutes. And when you look back, the entire vacation will look so nice. But if we stop and think about the vacation, collection of moments, collection of hours, if you look back and think rationally that how many hours was good or great in the previous vacation and how many hours was great, in the next vacation we'll find the previous vacation was in terms of hours. There were many more hours of enjoyment, but all we remember about the past is the last moment, last highlight. Okay. And that remains in our mind as if the vacation was, oh, not so good because of one incident. So he says that human beings, our mind is as it were, does not keep memory as picture, but as it were, we paint. In painting, we take liberty. Some of the portions we highlight, some of the portions we blur. Okay. So that is how, that is thing is about past, about our past impression of our world, how it was distorted by our own mind. In the same way, think about the present, every moment. You know, this world, there is one objective world, but are we really experiencing it all the same way? Are we? And especially the present moment, we are seeing that how the same incident, one same incident is being viewed by different people in accordance with their political ideology. Political ideology, right? So we are seeing that no matter what the objective reality is behind before us, it is clear, but we are taking our own text depending our ideology, depending our mind. We are coloring through a particular lens we are watching. And Dan Ariely is another behavioral economist in Duke University. A few days ago, I read another book, uh, Predictably Irrational. Human beings are predictably irrational. So he also goes on. He also does a lot of studies about how irrational human beings are. He gives the example that um, how irrational we are. Suppose we go to a grocery store and we find that uh, the candies or chocolates are on sale. Okay. So for example, the chocolate which I like most costs $2. Today it is being sold for $1. And there is another chocolate which I don't like so much, which costs $1. Today it is being given for free. And they did this experiment again and again everywhere, at the campus of Harvard University, at different shopping malls. Everywhere they found people are falling for the chocolate which is given for free. But wait a minute, in both the cases, what we am getting is $1 of concession. The $2 chocolate is being sold at $1, and the $1 chocolate is being sold at no price. So in both the cases, the concession rebate is same. And most importantly, I love the $2 chocolate. But as soon as I am seeing free, I am falling for this free thing. So he goes on to say that how human beings are really coloring their world every moment, every moment. And as I said, the same incident, how we are seeing differently. 2 days ago, I read that a group of people who watch a particular news channel, they were paid to watch another news channel, which is uh, politically totally opposite. And they were paid to watch that news channel for a month. After a month, they found their political ideology have changed. The people have changed in many respects. So this is the point. And what about future? About future too. How an optimist look about future and how a pessimist look about future. That also create our future world. And For example, uh, they are finding all over the world, psychiatrists are finding a new type of anxiety they are seeing in people, that is environmental anxiety. The people who are too pessimistic about this global warming, they are showing in different types of anxiety that does not fall into the standard uh, treatment of anxiety disorders. So it is being considered a new type of anxiety disorder. Then there are some optimistic people and realistic people. And in this connection, you will be happy to know that they did a research involving a lot of people. They found that people of different age groups from 15 to 69, they found that uh, young people are mostly optimistic, middle age, by the age middle age, they become realistic, and mostly when our people reach old age, they become pessimistic. But the interesting thing, the those who are pessimistic or slightly pessimistic about the future, they are happier people. They become happier because they don't expect much. They don't expect much, and so their desires are less, about expectation is less, and so it gets fulfilled. They are happier. But at the same time, the optimistic people are innovators. All the innovations are done by optimistic people. They take their ideas seriously and they think that probably this can do a great deal, make a great change, or bring about good changes in the world. So, how we see our future, not everyone in the same way. So, our past, our present, our future, all are creation of our own mind. So we may not agree with what Vasishta is telling to Rama. This entire world is in the creation of our mind, but to a great extent, our own world, what the world actually that I am inhabiting, is not it created by me, my mind? So in Panchadashi, you may remember, they say there are two types of creation, two types of world. Ishara Srishti, Jiva Srishti. That is the world which was created from Brahman, the ultimate reality. And on this world, we are creating our own world. And that's why my worldview, my world is different from your world. So, what is the upshot of all this? So, Vasishtha is trying to drive home to Rama that Rama, work on your mind, work on your mind. So the problem that you are seeing outside, most of them are rooted at your on your own mind. So work on your mind. So how to work on your mind then? Like all Vedanta scriptures, the highest things are told at the very beginning. The spiritual practice or practices have also been dealt in the very beginning in the second chapter, Muksha Vyavahara Prakarana. These four practices. So Vasishta says that moksha dware daropala chatvaraha parikirtita shama vichara santosha chaturtha sadhu sangama. He says that uh, there are, as it were, four gatekeepers to the door, to the um, there are four doors to moksha, and these four, in the four doors there are four gatekeepers, and you need to serve them. That is, you need to practice them if you want to get rid of your problems, if you want to be free, living free. What are those? Shamaha. Shamaha means tranquility, peace of mind. Vicharaha, spirit of inquiry. Then santoshaha, contentment. And finally, sadhu sangama, holy company, spiritual community, spiritual friend. And he says that practice any one of them, or two, three, or all of them, and be free. We see, how parallel it goes with Swami Vivekananda's saying that uh, practice Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, or Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, uh, do one of them or more and be free. That is the whole of religion. So Vasishtha also says so. Practice one of them or two or three or four and be free. What is Sama? Sama means the word Shanti, we say very often Shanti, peace, has come from the word Shama. That is tranquility of mind, tranquility of mind. So maintaining equanimity or even-mindedness while going through different experiences of the world. I find it is so akin to being mindful. Mindful. If we are mindful about whatever we are doing, we will see that we are less distracted and we are more peaceful and we are deriving much more satisfaction from whatever we are doing. Actually, this is in fact several studies have found that every activity is more enjoyable when done with mindfulness. And this is another name of Shama, Shanti. Okay, being even in facing the world. And Vasishtha says something about praise of this quality, Shama. He says, if you have this quality, then whatever you eat will be more tasty. You will feel more tasty. Your eating, your food will taste better. Your sleep will be better. Every activity you will do will be more enjoyable to it. You will be able to enjoy more of it if you have this quality of Shama. In other words, we may say being mindful about whatever we are doing. Being mindful. Now, so if we can give full of our attention in whatever we are doing, we'll see we derive much more satisfaction, joy, and peace of mind. That is why when we joined our monasteries, the first thing we were told that every work you are doing, whether it is in temple or in kitchen or garden or in the computer room, do with equal attention, equal alertness. So no work is more important than the other. With all your attention, try to do. At the beginning, it felt like, dread, everything with same attention. Then we later on we find the value of that. That is the reason of mental peace, shama. Second is spirit of inquiry, vichara. So vichara, he says that asking question like, who am I? What is my real nature? Why this world is not able to give me full satisfaction? What is the way out? What are the books of wisdom speaking to me? How can I practice them? What need, what kind of need what help do I need to practice this? Asking this type of questions and following through is vichara, inquiry. So as I try to see, in every practice is relevance to our life, I find that this spirit of inquiry is becoming more and more important in as we are passing, as we are seeing. For example, the great deal of problem, as I think now, is how to deal with infodemic. Infodemic. So much of information is being hurled on us. Which one to believe? Which one not to? And very often we jump into conclusion after watching one or two videos, and then we, as they call it, we fall into internet rabbit hole. They keep us showing same types of videos, and we don't care to think about the authenticity of the source, where it is coming from. Is it been well researched, or is it motivated? Has it got any propaganda? So I feel that those who have spirit of inquiry, which are in spiritual life, that what is Brahman, what is not, what is Nitya, what is Anitya, what is real, what is changing, they can also use the same power of discernment in navigating this infodemic, navigating the day-to-day life of, constant streams of news and thoughts and videos and ideas, which one to take, which one not to, where to stop, where to find a parallel research. So I believe this is very important because ultimately there is one mind. If one or the same mind which can do discernment or vichara or inquiry into spiritual nature of things, the same mind will be able to do the same thing when dealing with this constant stream of information. So, vichara, he says, this is very important, Rama, vichara. Ask questions, deep questions, and follow through them. Follow through them. Don't jump into conclusion quickly, but see through them, go deep with the questions and seek the help of others who have dealt with this question earlier. That is, seek the help of wise people. Third practice is santoshaha, contentment. That is also something that cools down our mind, cools our mind. And I remember Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Patanjali says, one of the practices of Ashtanga Yoga is Santosha. Uh, it comes under um, Niyama. Yes, Niyama, Santosha. So he says in praise of Santosha, Santoshat Anuttama Sukhalabha. From practice of contentment, one gets unsurpassable peace or happiness. And as I try to find out the parallels of this scripture in our present time, so I love one American social scientist who teaches in Harvard Business School, Arthur C. Brooks. I love him, his blogs, his book. I'm reading his latest book, From Strength to Strength: How to Find Satisfaction in the Second Half of Our Life. Wonderful book based on research, study. So he summarizes life satisfaction. And what I love most about his findings, he always come up with an equation. So life satisfaction equation, life satisfaction is equal to what you have divided by what you want. Life satisfaction is equal to what you have divided by what you want. Okay, so if what you want is less than what you have great satisfaction of your life. And what you want is more than what you already have, you are less satisfied. And then Harari, Yuval Harari, who wrote the great book called Homo Sapiens, he also takes up this question. In that book, he takes a broad view of human civilization, uh, the species itself. At the end of the book, he poses a very important question which nobody has asked so far. As a historian, he has said that as human being, as a species, are we progressing in happiness? Are we progressing in happiness over the centuries, over the decades? That is a measure of are we really progressing or not. So in that section, he takes up the fundamental question of what is happiness. He comes up with the same idea that try to be content with less than more. He says that if you want a Ferrari and got a BMW, you feel miserable. But if you want a bullock cart and get a bullock cart, you are happy. So point is that try to reduce your expectations and try to be happy with less. Then he also uh, brings the question, well, you may say that is not what philosophers, spiritual people, sages have been telling us all through the ages? What was the need to telling us the same thing? Then he says, well, it looks very nice when the same thing is being told with different charts and tables and graphs and PowerPoint presentation. It feels nice. So the thing is santoshaha, contentment. Try to be happy with less and try to count your blessings, whatever you have. Finally, and final practice, which Vasishta says most important practice. He says you can get rid of all. If you want to do one spiritual practice, that is sadhu sangama, that is company of holy people, that is a spiritual community, spiritual friendship. If there is one practice to be practiced, this is the thing, because from this, from spiritual community, from spiritual friendship, all the other practices, all inquiry, or being satisfied with less, or tranquility of mind, all these things sprout from this one great practice called sadhu sangama, having the company of holy people. All of us can testify here today that mostly all of us were inspired in our spiritual quest, spiritual journey by one or more than one people. They kindle the fire in us. And that's why, and we are seeking, we are in this spiritual path. So he says that even with great difficulty, if there is great difficulty in getting holy company, still one should try to get it. This is so important in our life. So very often we say, well, how can I get holy company? Where can I get? Uh, the, the point is, even if it is great difficulty, we should seek holy company. And meetings like these are holy meetings, are satsang. These are satsang. So they inspire us, and they are the most important thing. Interestingly, in Narada Bhakti Sutra, which I am giving a class on now, Narada gives many spiritual practices for cultivation of bhakti. Many things like singing the God's name, then listening to all these stories of the incarnation, then continuous worship of God. But finally, he says, Mukhatatu Mahat Kripaya eva. Mainly, devotion takes place, or devotion uh, cultivates in our heart. We can cultivate it in our heart through holy company, sadhu sangama, satsang. That is the most important practice for a spiritual life. Even with great difficulty, try to do holy company. So we think holy company means only company of a person who is realized or illumined. No, it is not like that. One of our Swamis used to say, suppose you want to read, you want to know study the physics of fifth standard, you don't always need a teacher who has got PhD in physics. Okay, someone who is higher than you, who knows better than you, is enough to guide you. Okay, so anyone who I find, or we find, more advanced than us in spiritual journey, that is a holy company. And more than that, when many people with same spiritual goal come together, that is a holy company. And that is the most important thing. That is what Vasishta says Rama. In where? In Yoga Vasishta, which is the text of non-dual Vedanta. And he says, with this, all the other things will come up. And what will happen then? Then, final thing, the problem that was all in your mind will get dissolved with how Vasana Shaya. That is, problems, all the problems start with our expectations, too much expectations, Vasana. Now, undue at expectations. And when they get resolved, the same world which you are finding now is a problem, will be same world is source of bliss to you. That is what at the end he says, Tishtam sada atmani pade bimala savahave nirvana shantamati dharmeno rajyam anupalayo. That is, remain established in ever pure Atma. That is how you go to that ever pure Atma by working on your mind. With your mind tranquil by nirvana. Nirvana is nothing but when you get rid of your unnecessary desires, undue desires. And then, Rama, what you should do? Rule your kingdom with dharma. Justly you. So Rama wanted to get rid of this responsibility of ruling the kingdom. He thought, what is the meaning of all those things? Should I go out and live in the caves like many sages to get rid of the problems? But Vasishta, after giving such a lengthy discussion of everything for 21 days, he says, no, nirvana means be remain established in your true nature with a tranquil mind and then rule your kingdom justly. And Sri Rama also gets this point very well. He says, Nashto mohaha padam praptam tat prasadat munishwaraha sthito asmi gata sandeho karishye bachanam taba. My confusions are now gone, and now I have a clear understanding of the nature of the world, nature of the things, nature of my mind. And I will do now as you have said. That is, I will rule the kingdom. With this, Dasharatha and all those who were present become extremely happy that Rama ultimately could get rid of his despondency and by the wise wisdom of Vasishta. And they celebrated the event for 7 days that Rama got highest wisdom, which made him agree to rule the kingdom. It's a happy ending which started with despondency of Sri Rama. And this is a wonderful book. And I have a bad habit. Whenever I read a book, good book, I start telling my friends about the book. And inspired by that, some of my friends here have already purchased the book, wonderful book available in Amazon, published by New York University Press, Vasishta Yoga by Swami Venkateshananda. So it is a very free English translation, totally getting rid of any Sanskrit, and translation is very smooth. You will feel as it were the conversation took place in English itself. And they made a edition called daily reading. That is, daily you read this many pages, first day, second day. So my friends are now inspired by my praise of the book. Some of my friends, at least three I know, read Vasishta Yoga daily. I am also reading it daily. If you are interested, you can think of that. It's a great book, wonderful book. And I am thankful to Brahma Pranaji for pushing me towards Vasishta Yoga. And let me conclude by saying Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om. Om, peace, 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 peace be unto all.